I used to own.
I brought Hussein Obama the song.
I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king is dead, long live the king. One minute I held the key, next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, once you've gone it was never, never an honest word. And that was when I ruled the world. It was the wicked and wild wind, blew down the doors to let me in, shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become, and revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever wanna be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, never an honest word. But that was when I ruled the world.
Do you think history is told one-sided? Why or why not?
I would say so, because I think a lot of times that history is told by like the winners. So like for instance, like when the English came over to the United States, it was the land filled with the Native Americans, and we pretty much just kicked them out of their own land. And now like even like in our education, we don't talk about like the Indians that much. So we don't know like much about their culture. So I would say, yeah, that it is taught, or history is focused on one side.
I think that history is only told from one side of the story, because textbooks today and teachers only tell basically the battles and wars and history that makes America look good, and it kind of puts down all the other countries and makes us feel superior to the inferior beings in other countries. For example, World War II and the atomic bombs that we dropped on Japan, we try to make those seem like we did the right thing because they hurt us first, but in reality, everything that we've done is just as bad as what they've done to us.
I think that history is biased because I think that the nation telling the history angles it according to their perspective, so they can leave out what they want, say what they want to glorify themselves. An example can be seen with like Christopher Columbus and the Indians. So yeah, I definitely think history is biased, but I think that any person telling a story would tell it how they want, making themselves look better. So.
Do you think that your education is suffering because of this bias?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think a lot of times, like, what schools teach us is like kind of what's the most interesting, not even what's the most important. So I don't think we get like a broad view of our education that way.
I don't think my education has struggled that much because of the way that they teach us, because obviously now with the internet and there's still all the other information in the books too. It's just that the teachers don't teach you about it, but you can still read about it. You can still form your own opinions, and I think it's easy to see what they teach us isn't necessarily correct, and that you should form your own opinion about everything.
I don't think that I would say it would suffer. I think that our education, we could use the term premature because we don't have the knowledge of everything. So maybe we're just ignorant of other perspectives. I think that it would be super important to kind of understand it from all angles and all perspectives, learning history in our way and then hearing it told by another nation. I think that's super important to make us more knowledgeable on what we're learning.
The retelling of history has been primarily done by the winners. But what about the other sides? Many students feel their education is lacking due to the absence of these happenings. History should be told from a multicultural perspective, so students can use critical thinking to assess the whole story. I took a look at history books throughout the time and found many examples of how biased information was delivered. In many instances, inaccurate information about the Native Americans was passed down. In this textbook, we found examples that say some of these Indians were much more savage than others. There were 3 principal divisions among them. One is savage, the second is barbaric, and the third is half civilized. Another example the book provides, on the topic of Reconstruction, states that under slavery, the Negroes have been elevated from barbarism to at least a semblance of civilization. So clearly, slavery was a step forward for African Americans. And even in textbooks used in today's classroom, such as the American Journey. In 1675, the settlers of Massachusetts went to war with the Wampanoag people. Metacomet, the chief, was known to the settlers as King Philip. And even throughout history and in this book, he is referred to as King Philip, which strips him of his cultural name and European.
As a future history teacher, I think it's important to teach the most non-biased and well-rounded education as possible. This means going outside of textbooks and using internet sources, which are mostly more accurate than the textbooks, to have the students analyze and critically think about the historical events. This lets them develop their own opinions on the subject instead of being taught through the textbooks.